know someone or are you personally battling a drug and alcohol addiction? Why are so many people addicted today? And why have so many people died as a direct result of this disease? If you've been affected by this problem and want answers like we do, then join us in our efforts to face this disease. Our purpose is to examine the truths, expose the lies, and uncover and provide resources to this affliction. Come, join us in this journey.
I was 26 years old. I was sitting in my truck in the parking lot of a movie theater getting high.
I was an outcast my whole life, I didn't know where I belonged.
Knocking my head against the wall over and over and over again.
So I came to Narcotics Anonymous. I heard a message that made my ears pop.
People who I can relate to and identify with. Managed to heal relationships, start families, and be happy with life.
Drug problem? We can help. We've been there. Narcotics Anonymous.
Hi, welcome to Addiction and Recovery TV. I'm your host, Charlene DeChico, and today joining me in the studio, I have a special guest. Her name is Marissa Martin. Marissa is the lightweight champion for Lady Street Fighter Boxing. And that's right, she's a champion boxer. So welcome, Marissa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So here you are. You are the lightweight champion, female boxing, right? It's all women, right? Mm-hmm. And so you got to tell us, first of all, it's Lady Street Fighter, right? Is this a small group, big group, or, just...
So right now we are just starting out, so we're kind of like a small little thing, female...
Ladies, right? Yeah.
Group, yes.
Well, speaking of names, so you have a character name. Tell us your character name and a little bit of your character's backstory.
Yes, my fighter name is Machine Gun Jane.
Machine Gun Jane, that's nice. Sounds tough, right?
Yeah. Machine Gun Jane is ex-military. She was top of her rank, of men and women in the Army. Drinks black coffee for breakfast, whiskey neat. She knows she's a good shot.
Right.
That's her backstory.
Well, she must be a good shot because she's the reigning champ. So you've won 2 fights now?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about that because that's interesting. You had your first fight, right? And you didn't know what to expect. And so, here it is. You're getting involved. You didn't have any boxing experience before, right? Because this is an amateur fighting group. Is that true? You can't actually be a boxer to join the group?
Yeah, exactly. It's more something to uplift people uplift women, motivating them and getting them empowered and coming out here to do, have some fun, have some character with it, show their power, show their strength.
Show courage, a lot of courage.
Yeah.
So back to the whole, your first amateur fight, you get involved. Mm-hmm. Did you know, let me ask you, did you know about your opponent and how did you prepare for the fight or your opponent?
I did not know my opponent. I did have a meetup. We do meetups, before the fights to kind of, meet your opponent.
See what you're working with, right?
Yeah.
What you're up against.
And, and to be able to just be open and ask questions if you want to, stuff like that. So no, I did not know her. And going into it, I work out on the regular anyway. And that was just kind of my thing, was to continue to eat healthy and just continue to go to the gym.
Sure.
And other than that, I did a little bit of shadow boxing on my own,
Sure.
and try to throw some cardio into the mix because I don't do cardio usually. It's usually weightlifting. But so that was kind of just my thing going into it.
But you know what's different about working out, because you work out, you get in your zone, you do your thing, you get healthy, but now you're doing this contact sport, right, where there's strategy with working with someone else. And so that had to be a big change. You have to come up against someone and really do that ebb and flow of feeling them out, protecting yourself, defense, offense. How was it when you got into the ring and it all started happening? Were you just, what was that experience like for the first time?
Wow. I mean, I didn't know what to expect going into
Sure.
it, and it was definitely different than what I I
Did
guess
you feel
the
prepared?
intentions.
Like, did you feel like you did your prep work like the best that you could do as far as training?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
so
did.
that
I
had to
did
be
feel
good, right?
I did feel good going into it, but I was just like, it just kind of takes you, and you're just like, okay, it's gonna be me or her, and you got to
Right.
figure that out and get into the strategy of like, I'm not really a fighter, so it's like you got to think about it when you go after. Actually, didn't even think about it going into it. It was just like once I got pushed into it, then it was like, okay, this is it. This is real. This is
So
happening.
you have 3 rounds, right? And they're 1-minute rounds with a 1-minute break in between each round. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Give or
so
take.
your first round, you're in there, it's starting, adrenaline, blood is pumping, right? You're like, here we go. Then it starts happening. Were you taking hits right away? Were you defensive? Like, how do you think the first round went, then the second round to the third round?
Oh, so definitely in the beginning it was me kind of being like back here, like, okay,
Right.
what's going to happen? And she came in. She
Okay.
came into it because she's done it before. She had done it previously before me. So it was just me kind of sitting back here,
Right.
seeing what's going to happen,
Feel
and
it
then
out, yeah.
feel it out. But then she came, and I was like, okay, it's time to get this going,
okay. Right.
And then your adrenaline goes more, and it's like once you get that hit one time, that good hit, you're like,
Right.
okay, this is on.
The fight sounds really exciting and fun to watch. So if we want to watch it on YouTube, Instagram, where can we see the fight at?
Yes, you can watch it on YouTube, YouTube/Lady Street Fighter. You can check us out on Instagram as well. It's at Lady Street Fighter.
Here it is, you're a woman, you're boxing. It's like kind of a male-dominated sport. I mean, although there are great female boxers, but like you really have to toughen up and you got to bring your A game, you got to be strong, you got to push yourself. And so just for, personal well-being, right, and self-help, would you say that being a boxer is really good for that? It just seems like it's so, about getting you to your best place. I mean, like, would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, physical activity in general, I feel like is very good for the mood. It releases endorphins and making you feel good,
Right.
good about yourself. And I feel like boxing comes into that with the fact that it's physical activity, as well as I feel like it helps with yourself, your power, and making you
Confident.
confident.
Right?
There you go.
Courageous,
Your
right?
confidence. It boosts your confidence, and I feel like once you become a master at the skill, you feel like you're able to defend yourself with whatever's going on. It's a
Right.
crazy world out there. Women need that.
Yeah. And here you are doing it. And like, the first time you see your opponent, what if they're very intimidating? Then you got to go in there and be like, maybe with fear. So it's like channeling and working through fear. Like, did you have some of that going into it? Like, were you a little afraid or just a little nervous or just didn't think, just went in? Like,
Kind of,
it's like you can use that fear
I
to
got nervous
push you.
for sure, just because I hadn't really done something like this
Right.
before. But I was like, this is cool. Like, let me see what it's about, fill it out, try it. And that's kind of what I did. But at first, yeah, even with the second fight, I was nervous as well.
Right.
You never know.
Right.
Never underestimate your opponent. I
Right.
learned that.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, how awesome. It's like you get through the first one, you're like a killer, you knock the girl out or down. And so here you are, you're the champion. And then you have to deal with like who wants to take on the champ, right? Because now the heat is on, right? Because somebody really wants to come at you. So how was your second fight compared to your first fight? Do you feel like you were definitely, I better get ready? Or, how would you compare them 2 fights?
For the second fight, I definitely tried to sit back. She came way harder
Okay.
than the first one. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was more of a struggle because, one, I didn't completely feel ready. My cardio was off. I needed breath, and I wasn't giving enough.
But you held your own, right? Did you have to?
Yeah, I did.
Did you get some good punches in towards the end? Is that how you won the fight? Like, how did you win the fight?
Yeah, I had to power through and, keep her on her toes. I didn't do 3 rounds with that one either. It was another knockout second round. I don't know how these happen. I literally thought in the middle of that fight, thinking that I was gonna lose.
Right.
I did think that, but I was, you know, that, and this is the thing with doing this type of thing is, in it, I still felt like this empowerment out of me, just being like, no, you gotta keep going, you gotta keep going, and no matter what happens, I gotta give it my all, and that's kind of what shined through, and I don't know, it ended up just coming out of me the second round.
That's just a beautiful thing. It sounds so amazing because, you know, that's what we really want to, you know, share with the audience and let our viewers know about how there's this, you know, sport activity. It's not, you know, your regular boxing where you go to a gym class and box, which is awesome. You know, it gives you that strength. Like, this is really taking part in the sport of boxing and getting out there and working with an opponent. And so, you know, just what you've gotten out of that overall. And also now, I mean, come on, you're the champ. You've won 2 fights. You're holding the title. You've knocked both of your opponents out. I mean, that's pretty, like, empowering. That must feel great, right? To be this, I mean, it's had to have helped you with your morale and in life, right? Can you take that with you in your everyday life and feel, like, more confident about the things that you do in your life?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I feel like it just gives me more positivity all around. I'm also an artist, so I feel like it kind of makes me feel a little bit better in other ways too.
Sure. Like, what would you share with our audience about, like, hanging in there and fighting the good fight, just in life and maybe with the Lady Street Fighter group?
Just in life, I would say just go after the things that you like, the things that you're interested in, the things that people, you know, society may say isn't for you, isn't for women, isn't for, you know, whatever.
Follow my instructions and keep fighting until the bell ends. Ready?
I'm here with our first champion of the Lady Street Fighter, the longest tenured fighter right now. That's Machine Gun Jane. She is here and ready, aren't you, Jane?
You know it, Alan. Come on.
Yeah, I've seen you fight before, and frankly, it's something to behold. So if you haven't seen it, tune in, folks. What's going on with you and Torque today?
You know, I couldn't tell you. You know, I don't know who. The person that is in charge of LSF, I just don't understand who he thinks he's putting me up against. I mean, did you see my last fight? This is ridiculous. You know. Good luck to her. Good luck to this girl.
I mean, folks, I can't disagree with you. You'll see why she has the name Machine Gun. Machine Gun, any last words before we sign off? And that belt is beautiful, I gotta tell you.
That was it.
I love it, folks. Here we go. I'm ready to fight. How about you? Champ responded as champs do and knocked her out in the second round. So my hats off to both the ladies. Thank you for fighting. And here we go, Machine Gun Jane, still the champ. Still.
We just want to thank you for your continued support here at Addiction and Recovery TV, for tuning in to our broadcast each week. And we want to remind you that we would like to hear from you. And if you'd like to be a guest on our program, we'd love to hear your story. There are so many people today, more than ever, that are struggling in the area of mental health, addiction, and substance abuse. At Addiction and Recovery TV, not only do we want to talk about those issues, but we really want to make it a point to highlight the recovery aspect of all of these afflictions that we have encountered, because recovery is possible and people are recovering and healing, but it's all about plugging into those resources and having that initiative to move forward in that process.
I was 26 years old. I was sitting in my truck in the parking lot of a movie theater getting high.
I was an outcast my whole life, you know, like I didn't know where I belonged.
Knocking my head against the wall over and over and over again.
So I came to Narcotics Anonymous. I heard a message that made my ears pop.
People who I can relate to and identify with. Manage to heal relationships, start families, and be happy with life.
Drug problem? We can help. We've been there. Narcotics Anonymous.
Have you ever felt like you're unsure of the future or think that your past is going to stick with you? Do you have feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, and maybe no one believes in you or you don't believe in yourself? Well, my name is Joe, and I'm here to tell you that if you watch in, check in with Addiction Recovery TV, we have plenty of stories of people like that, including myself. We ask that you tune in, contact us, and get to know stories of other people like yourself to give you some hope and some feedback and a new outlook on life and how to move forward, because it's possible.
Many people have been touched by addiction, either directly or indirectly. Join us as we educate and break the stigma associated with addiction. Together, we can start a revolution and bring the disease out of the darkness and into the light.
At Addiction and Recovery TV, we talk about raising awareness, and we also talk about the problems and situations revolving around addiction and recovery. And it's always important to remember that if you struggle in an area and you're looking for help or resources, there are plenty available. And sometimes it just takes a picking up the phone and making one simple phone call that can make all the difference. So remember, we're always available and we're ready to help you in any way that we know possible, and definitely lead you in the right direction, because along the pathway of darkness, there is a light of hope along those roads. So hopefully you will be open to see the light and walk in that direction. So if it's mental health, if it's addiction, even suicide, the help is always readily available. Just take that initiative to reach out and receive it. Looking at this Danube River architecture and the water line is absolutely remarkable. But when I think about what the Jews endured here in World War II, it's absolutely startling. Let's take a closer look down at the shoes on the Danube River. Standing here, taking a moment of reflection, thinking about the horrors that the Jews endured here during World War II. In some bitter winter months, the story's been told of how many were lined along these riverbanks, many who were shot naked, falling into the hands of the cold river on a winter's day or maybe even evening here in Budapest. This is the story that's told here, lying right here along the riverside. Although it is a tragic story told along this river line, we've come to see a people who, in spite of this terrible events that happened here along the Danube River, we have seen overcome and persevere, not only in these parts of Budapest, but in other parts of Europe. If the soul could be broken, wouldn't it be here? And if the spirit could be destroyed, couldn't it be here? But that is not the case. There is a story of inspiration that comes from the depths of these rivers. Hi, I'm standing here in Budapest at the Cave Church here, and I'm with Jad, right?
That's correct.
A little bit of what I know so far about this church. Before it was a church, it was like a natural spring, a water spring, right?
Absolutely. That's part, we call that, is the outer cave.
Okay.
That was a cultic place till 1,000 years ago.
Okay. We're standing out here. This is a big cave around us.
Yeah,
this
at the big
open,
cave,
right?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's open. And this part is the more than 4 million years old, the middle of the Earth history.
Really, middle
Absolutely,
of the Earth.
yeah.
So we're
And
standing also across is the Danube River is here.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
that's a very historical thing. And then at one point, we know that this was all closed up. They built a wall right in front after it was made a church. So it was made a church.
Absolutely.
Right?
So-
Not too often that you
And
get to
it was
visit
fine,
a
yeah, sure.
church inside of a cave. So if you're in Budapest, make sure you come check out the cave church here.
It's an issue that's really important to me. I'm doing a show called Mom that deals with people in recovery. It's a Chuck Lorre show. It's a great show, and I love how we show that recovery can be fun. It's not all dreary, and we're destigmatizing it a bit because I think people who have addictions tend to hide that fact or feel they have to hide, or that there's some shame attached to it. And I think it's important to remove that shame and bring it out into the open and deal with it as a society, because it's such an important issue. It affects so many people, so many families, even the families of the people who aren't the addicts. And, it's a whole. And there's so much support and love out there and hope that I just want people to know that more, and that's what things like this are getting that out there, getting the message out there.
This event.
Well, I think it's great that everybody understands that addiction is a real problem, and it can be arrested and you can recover. And the message that we need to get out to people is hope. There's a lot of people that don't believe that they can recover and get well. And when we look at young people today, they have no idea. They're struggling hard with addiction like never before, and they ODing and dying, and they just don't believe in themselves. And we need to come to a place where we deliver a message to them that they can be restored inside. It's not what we look like on the outside. I think too many of us get caught up on, when we get recovery, what we look like on the outside. But our insides are not well, and we need to help these young people and anybody that's struggling with addiction get well on the inside and get whole.
And that's awesome, talking about an inside job, right? And so I just want to thank you and mention again about that you yourself have been involved in recovery, and it's okay. You've been open about that, and so the support that you give to others with recovery. But today we were talking a lot about the addiction component, and so we hear that the phrase disease of addiction. And so what is your comments of that phrase, like really getting out there and people hearing that addiction is a disease?
Well, it's about time. It should have been out there a long time ago that it's a disease. It's an illness of the mind that affects a person and controls a person's life, and it takes people to places that they can never imagine. I don't care if you come from Park Bench to Beverly Hills. Addiction will ruin your life, and whoever you are. It doesn't matter if you're successful, famous, baseball player, or whatever. There's a real issue that's going on inside with someone that's caught up in the midst of addiction, and if you can ever get to the root problem of that, then they can eventually find recovery, and that's the most important statement I bring about to people. Recovery is real, and you can live an abundant life if you just set your mind to doing some real work on yourself and dealing with the issues that you have, and you can become a whole new person.
There's actually a kit out there that can help save people's lives, and Kevin was nice enough today to bring that kit with us, and he's going to tell us first what it is. We have it here. I have one here. It is a Narcan treatment kit, and then Kevin's going to show us with the one in front of him of what this kit is and what does it do. Kevin, can you tell us?
That's an undisturbed kit. Naloxone, or we hear it commonly called Narcan, I guess you might want to call it a miracle drug because it reduces the effect of the overdose immediately. And so it hasn't been readily available. Massachusetts was really the first state to kick it into gear because it is a prescription drug.
Here at Addiction and Recovery TV, we're here to tell you that there is hope and a new way of life from addiction. My name is Joe, and I just want to give a quick testimonial about my experience with drug addiction. I started out when I was much younger. got involved with narcotics at a young age. It certainly took me down quick, fast, and I had no control over it. I've been to many rehab facilities, detoxes, and eventually spending 2 years in prison, which was in fact the best thing that happened to me, because I learned that, until I was ready, I wasn't going to get the help I needed. I didn't ask for help, I didn't want the help, and until something happened for me, which I call was, a power greater than myself intervening, and of course the time in prison, I really needed to feel enough pain, and that's when my new past began. Because what happens is you get a new past, a past worth talking about. Everything in the old past it's there, you got to leave it there. And like I said, the good news is that we can move forward like myself. And today I'm living a life, beyond my wildest dreams, and it's all because someone, helped me and believed in me, and I believed in myself. And I'm here to tell you that it's possible for you too, if you or someone is struggling with addiction or any kind of ailment. And the good news is there's hope.
I was 26 years old. I was sitting in my truck in the parking lot of a movie theater getting high.
I was an outcast my whole life, I didn't know where I belonged.
Knocking my head against the wall over and over and over again.
So I came to Narcotics Anonymous. I heard a message. I made my ears pop.
People who I can relate to and identify with. Managed to heal relationships, start families, and be happy with life.
Drug problem? We can help. We've been there. Narcotics Anonymous.
There's many publications that talk about addiction and recovery, and we've even been addressing it on some level in society at large. We have fellowships, we have treatment is available, there are medications, but what about what is still needing to be done? So from a services perspective, Deborah, what can you tell us?
Well, I can tell you that the misuse of prescription drugs, which is a big worry today, prescription drugs, i.e. opioids, is second only to marijuana for drug abuse these days. The most commonly used illicit drug is marijuana.
That's amazing.
But a close second is the opiates.
That's amazing. I mean, just that statement. We will be going into that more.
Addiction is a family disease, so we need to educate and support families and let them be aware that help is possible for their loved ones. We realize that it's a difficult thing to admit, but we want to support people in education.
But some of the questions that we still need to ask on this program are, why is it that people are so lost? What makes someone turn to drugs in spite of everything else? We've had some guests on our program who've talked about this and even answered the question in so many words by saying that we're not united, that love is missing, and people are indeed in search of their own true identity. So how is society addressing this issue? If we even are. Are we providing truth to individuals? Are we helping people to find themselves in a world full of so many options? Well, at Addiction and Recovery TV, we would like to help you in this search, even if it's just by letting you know that you're important and that you mean something and that your life has worth and value.